Today, I'll be discussing the neurological effects of aging, more specifically the how and the why to the decline in the neurological function in old age. Firstly, I would like to introduce my Nana because I'll be talking about her a lot today. My Nana, Jane, is 85 years old and is married to my granddaddy, Stephen, for 63 years. She has had 5 children, including my mom, and she has 16 grandchildren, with a great-grandchild on the way. So, the reason Nana is important to this presentation is because she has suffered from 2 strokes, the first affecting her right side and the second her left. Though a stroke is a cardiovascular disease in origin, it has neurological effects, making it a neurological disease as well. Though a stroke is not considered a normal part of aging, I'll be using her story as a real-life example of how aging and disease processes can affect a person neurologically. Changes that occur in the nervous system due to aging manifest in the brain, spinal cord, and peripheral nerves. Brain function varies normally as people pass from childhood to adulthood and on to old age. During childhood, the ability to think and reason increases, which gives the child the ability to learn. When a person reaches adulthood, brain function remains basically the same. However, after a certain age, which is unique to each individual, brain function declines. This is a normal part of aging and can be delayed, but it cannot be stopped. There are 3 main areas in which age affects the brain: short-term memory, verbal skills, and information processing. The loss of short-term memory is usually the earliest indication of age-related changes in the brain. This is different than dementia, which is not a normal part of aging, in that it does not affect life skills like being able to do laundry, but causes inconveniences such as forgetting where you put your keys. The next ability decline is verbal communication skills, which can result in the decline of things like vocabulary or conversing ability. This skill usually remains stable until age 70. Finally, information processing is the last to be affected out of the 3. How well an individual processes new information usually declines after 80. So, the next question would be, why does this happen? What is going on in the brain that creates these declining effects? There are many factors that lead to these changes, mainly including the loss of neurons, not just in the brain, but all over the body. The number of cells lost depends on each person and their own state of health. By the age of 90, brain mass will have decreased by around 11%, which equates to the loss of about 100 grams of neural tissue. This loss of neural tissue is what leads to the decline of brain function in older people. Age also affects the spinal cord in that the vertebrae and the discs become weaker. This slows down nerve conduction, leading to a decrease in strength and motor skills. The peripheral nervous system is also affected in that due to the loss of myelin, nerve impulses cannot travel as fast. This leads to older people having reduced sensation and motor control. So, how actually do these neurological changes manifest in an individual? We've already discussed how as age increases, some degree of memory loss occurs, whether that be short-term memory, verbal skills, or information processing. Also, as stated before, due to the dying of neurons, control of some of the body's normal functions declines as well. In assessing an elderly patient, you have to take into account these normal consequences of aging. First, you need to observe the patient and their movements. This would provide objective data that could shed light on the patient's mental status and their ability to care for themselves. Next, the important aspects of a complete neurological assessment for these patients are assessing the cranial nerves along with their sensory function, reflexes, and their motor system. Changes in the cranial nerves is due to an age-related decline of neurons, which therefore affects sensory perception. The most common change that is noted is a decline in vision and hearing. Loss or impaired vision in the elderly is also attributed to the stiffening of the lenses of the eye, which impairs its ability to focus. Reflexes are also affected by the aging process. Reaction times and the performance of tasks may become slower because the body cannot process nerve impulses as fast as it was once able to. Elderly patients also could have motor system problems as well due to the same issue of slow nerve impulses. With aging, there is a decline in the strength of muscles and in the speed and coordination of movements, which leads to the gait imbalance and loss of posture. These are all considered normal assessment findings for geriatric patients. However, other complications and diseases can lead to abnormal symptoms and changes. A few disorders that commonly affect the neurological system of older adults includes stroke, Parkinson's disease, and brain disorders such as Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a degenerate disorder of the brain that leads to memory loss and atrophy of the brain. The severity of the disease is unique to each individual. With unaltered disease progression, patients cannot remember how to do daily tasks that they have done all their lives. Some patients even progress so far that they can't even recognize or remember their own family members. Although this disease affects so many people and families, it has yet to be completely understood. Another neurological disease that is not understood is Parkinson's disease. This disorder develops due to the loss of neurotransmitters, specifically dopamine. Due to this lack of dopamine, we see the symptoms of patients with Parkinson's as they will develop a tremor, slow movements, stiffness, and a loss of balance. Symptoms worsen over time, and although there is medicine to delay the progression, there remains no cure. Strokes, however, have more definite research on causes and prevention than the other two. A stroke is caused by a sudden interruption of blood flow to a particular area of the brain. This is caused by many factors including genetics, high blood pressure, smoking, and atherosclerosis. And though a stroke is a cardiovascular accident, it has neurological implications for the patient. Due to the interruption of blood flow, neurons and brain cells die off in that area. This causes the outward symptoms we see, such as one-sided weakness, difficulty in cognition, and slurred speech. My Nana had an ischemic stroke back in 2015. This stroke affected her right side. She did not display the typical signs of an active stroke and therefore was not taken to the hospital until the damage was already done. However, she worked in rehab and did her OT and PT therapy at home, and she has made remarkable improvements. She learned how to use her left arm for many daily tasks, and she was mostly able to feed herself with her right arm, and she was walking without assistance. She began playing the piano again, which she has always loved to do. However, about a year ago, my Nana suffered from another stroke, this one affecting her left side. The whole process of rehab and therapy began again, and once again she has kept working and she's doing very well. So now I'm going to show a few videos of her journey.
I'm coming straight for you!
Take your right hand to as far as you can go. Push it with your left. Okay, let go of the left. Keep it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I did not get one.
You ready?
4,
No, we're not doing the stairs again.
5. Oh, is she getting a picture of you? 2. Lift your arm.
Now she is able to walk on her own, just needing someone there to make sure she keeps her balance. And she's able to feed herself a couple of bites with her right hand. She used to not be able to scratch her head at all, but now she throws her hand up there like it's no big deal. And while her left arm remains weak from her second stroke, her right arm has been able to make a comeback thanks to the OT and the new neural connections that have been formed. Which brings me to my next point. This is the cool thing about our nervous system. It's able to compensate. It begins to form new connections through methods like redundancy. This method is exactly how it sounds. It is doing a motion over and over again to create new neural connections in the brain. Thus, people who have had a stroke can sometimes learn new skills, as occurs during occupational therapy, which uses this redundancy method. The brain itself compensates as well through actively forming new connections between remaining cells and sometimes even producing new nerve cells. These new connections have the possibility of resulting in gaining function back, or at least a part of it. And although every case is unique, this can be encouraging to the patient and the family members that there is still some hope. Education plays a key role in matters related to the nervous system and how it is affected by age. It is important to teach what is a normal symptom of aging, what is abnormal, and how to tell the difference between the two. Age-related changes cannot be stopped, but they can be delayed. We need to educate people that they themselves have an influence of how quickly brain function declines. Physical exercise has been proven to slow the loss of nerve cells in areas of the brain and also helps keep the remaining nerve cells functioning. However, consuming 2 or more drinks of alcohol a day can speed up the decline in brain function. Living a healthy lifestyle can lead to less health complications overall, but specifically, it can help slow or even in some cases prevent neurological changes, whether normal or not. So, in conclusion, our nervous system is very important in our normal daily functioning. When it's messed up, so are we. However, the consequence of getting older is losing some of that neurological function that we rely so much upon. Whether it be normal changes of aging or a disorder that negatively affects the nervous system, it is our duty to care for these patients as we would our family, because one day it could be.